All right, NECA's been crushing it lately with recent releases of McCready, Back to the Future, Doc Brown. You got Frankenstein. I think there's some more. Oh, Starlight. Here we have The Boys, Homelander. The box is a bit plain. I'm kind of going back and forth because it's kind of got a premium look to it. But at the same time, I do find it a bit plain. So you got the Homelander there with the pattern of his outfit. It's that spot UV printing. Again, it looks premium. The back looks cool. I think the back is the coolest part. And then a picture on the inside, and that's where your figure will be. So the box aside, here's the figure, and he's holding his skull and spine from the NECA Predator. I think every figure looks better with a skull and spine. Pretty much. Here's a little blue tack, just so he's holding it there without having to mess with it. But we're going to get rid of this because he does not come with the skull and spine that came with a Predator. Homelander is going to come with, make sure I got it all off. Homelander is going to come with 3 heads in total. He's going to come with 2 different sets of hands and then laser beams. So that's pretty much it. I think the Boys figures are the recent NECA ones that I have my biggest gripes with. I love the 2015 Doc Brown was fantastic. The McCready was amazing. The Frankenstein was, again, one of my favorites that NECA has done. I just reviewed that. Here's McCready. Here's Frankenstein. The sculpt work, everything on the recent releases have been incredible. Now, when it comes to Homelander, his likeness is a bit off. And it's weird because I was looking through images and I can see what they're going for with the distance between the lip and the jaw and everything else, but I think he has sharper, I think that's the problem. He has sharper details on his face, the actor himself, than what's represented in the figure. And it makes him look a little puffy or swollen. And I'll say that at times the likeness is definitely there. But whoever did this sculpt was close, but they didn't. This is like, in my opinion, with all due respect, this is like NECA from like 7 years ago. At their best from 7 years ago. Where some of their figures were just, most of their human figures were just way off. Like 5, 7 years ago. I wouldn't even take them off the shelf, let alone buy them when they were that old. Recently, over the last 3 years, they've been getting incredible with human characters. With the monsters, they've been good for a long time now. But when you look at Homelander, there's a couple things. His legs look short, and I think the big problem here, because I did line him up with the actual actor, and it's amazing how his body is totally proportionate to the actor. It's in proportion. Now, I think what's messing it up is his thigh. A lot of the other figures, it rides higher, so it gives it like this big leg look, because his leg is essentially this, but you only see it as this because of the articulation. So his actual leg is all this, from his hip down to his knee, and that's how a lot of the other figures look. If you get McCready, McCready doesn't look like he's got stumpy legs, but if you put them together, they're the same. You know what I mean? It's the same leg size. And I've put him together with other figures from like McFarlane Toys and what, and it's damn close. Even though the scaling I don't think is close, I think it's just that's throwing him off. Not only that, I think here's a good view of just how his body does seem to match up, you know, with his stumpy legs. But I think it is the articulation that just makes his legs look a little stumpy. And I guess you could see his face there. Looks pretty good, but again, there's sharper details in the actor. Maybe even if the sculptor did a smaller chin or a pointier chin, that probably could have worked as well. I don't know. Something is throwing it off. I think maybe it is the chin or the jawline. Yeah, see how the jawline's kind of rounded? Maybe if they did a more, look at this, like a really sharp and zoom, Maybe if they did something like that with him. He does kind of have... See what I mean? Like, I think that is part of the problem throwing it off. Maybe if his jawline was there. Anyhow, I just wanted to point some of that out because there's been a lot of talk about his likeness. It's funny because MacReady got a lot of heat for his likeness, and I think the reason is because the actor himself had really soft features when he was younger, and most of his face was covered by a beard in the actual movie. But with this guy, I think it's just a few things they just didn't nail, like the jawline. And then he looks a little puffy. But anyway, so what comes with him? You have this normal face and one trick I showed in another video. Take Mod Podge, the Super Glossy. Look, Super Gloss. Take a really fine brush and just go in there on the eyes and do a little bead of super glue. Or not super glue, the Mod Podge, right on the eye. And another one here, right on the eye. Bam. And what that does is it takes that printing work they're doing that I think is blurry and ugly looking. If you look real close on that print work, I think that is freaking terrible. It looks blurry, and maybe that's what they're going for. With like, I don't know, like a ton of little pixels in there for detail. I hate it. I think it looks like trash. So you slap a little dab of glue. And even when they don't do that, you add a little gloss to the eyes. It's a trick I learned playing Days Gone, like 3 years ago. In order for the eyes to look better, they added a little bit of tears in their eyes, and it gave it a more realistic lifelike look. So I took that concept and I added a little bit of gloss to the eyes, and I think it came out great. Here's unglossed on the right, and then here's glossed on the left. Anyhow, so here's the two different head sculpts. He really only comes with 2 complete head sculpts. The other head sculpt is going to be this one, where you take his laser beam and you plug it into his face. So it's essentially this same sculpt, just with holes drilled out. So we'll put that on. And he's got a big old ball joint. I'm kind of curious as to why. And there's something similar. I hope they continue to do this. With Frankenstein, they added, and they have only done it on a few different characters before, but they added like a ball joint to the bottom of the neck, where the neck connects to the torso. Before, or more common, the neck would be a part of the torso, and it would be stiff. However, with a ball joint there, you actually get additional movement. I don't want my hands getting in the way, but you actually get additional movement in the neck itself. See that? With whatever ball joint they got in there. And that is fan-friggin-tastic, because it adds a little more attitude. Look at the size of that. That shit is crazy. But because it's real big, it pops off good. Be gentle with it, because the peg is kind of small, and I don't want you to displace the pressure you're putting on there and snap that peg. So there, you can look creepy with sunburn and holes in his face. Or you take the plugs and just plug them right in. Right there and right there. It's gross. I feel like I'm violating them. Anyway, put those right in, and then bam, you have blast effects. And the blast effects look cool. I mean, good sculpt work there. A nice blast look. And he's got a nice, rich, hard plastic for the sculpt. Or I should say the beam. Yeah, it looks cool. I think that worked real well. A little bit of red they painted on his face. Anyhow, so that's the blast beam face. My favorite thing about... Oh my god, I pressed down on it. I thought I almost broke it. My favorite thing about the Homelander outfit itself is kind of like this simple blue design with a bunch of texture. and then the eagle shoulder pads with this cape. I don't know. As a design in figure form, I think that's my favorite part about him. But this is how he looks. He's got the simple design with really cool eagle shoulder pads. I think on the initial costume, when I look at it, just to compare, it's really screen accurate, except the eagles appear to be down a little more. Even his bicep and muscles here, it's on screen like that. It's like part of the suit itself. It's not the actor, it's the suit itself. And then these pads here, everything is the same. And the eagle rides a little closer to this cut in the end of his shoulder muscle there, where his bicep is. Not all the way, but a little. And I'm wondering why they didn't just do that. I think they left it up higher so that way it can kind of hide some of the sculpt, which is a little bit of a shame because it gets in the way when you lift his arms. His arm doesn't lift at all. His arm doesn't lift much. This way it'll lift. It clears the cape, and it does spin around, so you can spin the arm. You just have a hard time lifting it up. I know this one popped right out of the package. This, because it's plugged into his shoulder here, this one popped right off. So I got it glued down, but I don't want to mess with it too much. So yeah, his shoulders are hindered with the articulation a bit. He's got double jointed elbows, so he can bend pretty good. He's got the hinges at his wrist. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that about Frankenstein, but hinges at the wrist. He's got a fisted hand on his right arm, and then an open hand on his left arm. And then the other ones, he has an open left hand, and then a closed-fisted, wait, did I say that right? Open right hand, and then a fisted left hand. So you can have him double-fisted or having both hands open. Loose expression. So I think that's good with him. I should bring up my only other complaint, though. I skipped on Starlight. I will pick her up and review her, but I just skipped for now because I think Starlight is a waste of money. I shouldn't say that. I think she is overpriced. Now, I'll give them this. The sculpt isn't something that they're going to be able to just keep redoing. So I cut them slack on that. But Starlight is literally like just the body, a shorter character, and then like alternate hands. I think she's got 2 sets of heads and alternate hands. And at the time I was like, I'm not. Her eyes were kind of goofy painted. So I'll wait until I find for that price, I'll wait until I find a figure that's painted like proper, and then I'll review her. But he has the same sculpt work on his body. I think the waist should be a little bit slimmer. He does look weird. It's a good thing he has a cape. He just, I don't know. He looks weird and kind of not superhero-like from the back. I think they should have shrunk his hips some. And his I don't know, his stomach should shrink in a little more, it looks, from the show. But it's pretty damn close. Anyhow, so you have these good ball joints in the hip articulation. These are the best ball joints that I've seen so far. On NECA, I think they should make these with as many figures as possible because these are fantastic. I mean, they are fantastic. You get some hip swivel. See that paint rub? Or maybe it's not even painted up there. Not, as much, or a wash. But you got a hip swivel. It moves up, it moves forward, it moves back. And then he bends at the knee. He's got a double joint at the knee. So he can do some superhero poses, all right. And then he's got a hinge at the ankle. And that ankle can actually rock as well. So he's got a rocker there. So hinge up, hinge down. So you can get him doing some superhero flying poses for sure. Yeah. Just got to watch with those shoulder pads. And then here's the cape. The cape is printed on the back, and you kind of got to fold each side because it is not printed on the inside, which looks really cheap. However, doesn't, I don't know, his cape doesn't fold over. It's just big enough for you to do this. Lay it down, and then lay this down, and then he kind of sits there. I think that's what they were going for, because Homelander's cape is just like this in the back. I think that's what they were going for. So that is Homelander from The Boys, and I think he's really cool if you like The Boys. Hey, if you don't, maybe you're in the superheroes, that's cool too. I will say, though, I stand by the face sculpt. I think this is, out of the lineup, I think this is a cool figure. It's worth the price. It's worth the space on the shelf. But it's one of the weaker likenesses that they have put out recently. And that's a surprise, because NECA is knocking it out of the park. And it's just weaker by a touch, too. He does have, like his mouth area and the eye area, the nose area, he has those telltale signs. I think it's just, I don't know, the structure of the head overall. I have heard some people say, like, some of the figures are perfect, the likenesses, some are way off. I don't know. I think that's just personal preference. I think overall you're going to, like, at this angle, he looks a lot like him. I think it's just a figure, makes him look a little small. But that's Homelander. Again, you have that head. You have, careful with that ball joint. You have this head as well, a more angry looking expression. Actually, that angry expression in the camera, it works pretty damn good. Yeah, that's Homelander. Oh, I forgot to show off his little symbol on his boots. And there's the weathering. I don't know if I showed off the textures. Here's his symbol on his waist. And more textures. You can see his abs through there, just like the show. There's another version with this flap down, and I would like that version with messy hair and different head sculpts. I think Homelander is another one they can do twice. Make a different torso, different head sculpts. You can actually repackage this figure and drench him in blood, like one of those scenes, with a different head sculpt. So you just add one head sculpt, cover him in blood, and some type of accessory like ripped limb or I don't know, something. And then boom, you can reuse this sculpt twice now. That's just one idea. And then if you just change the torso with that flap down, you could do another version with a couple accessories. And then you can do the flap down with a bloodied version. I'd be into that. I wouldn't press it more than that. I don't think I don't know. You guys correct me down below if you want like 20 different Homelanders, but I'm good with like one like this, a version from season 2 with the flap down and then covered in blood, or just a version like this covered in blood. As long as the head sculpts are different, or at least one different head sculpt to go with the blood cover, I'd be cool with that. Like they should include this kind of, no, this head here, with a little bit of a grin, covered in blood. And then a new head sculpt with like gritting teeth, covered in blood as well. Or sad looking. I mean, because he had that, I don't know, that one scene. Starlight, though, is the one I'm not sure. They're going to have to pull a miracle for that. But the way NECA rolls is they'll do a new body and new sculpt and all that like this. And you won't get a ton of accessories, but you'll definitely be happy with what you get. You get 2 heads, and then you get a action scene head with the blazing eyes, and then you get 2 separate hands, or 2 sets of hands. And then it makes it worth it, because this is a brand new character, brand new license, brand new IP. So it definitely makes it worth it. So what they'll do is they'll re-release him in a different version, utilizing most of what they have, but they'll give you more accessories now, because they don't have to pay or repay for the tooling. They do that frequently, and that's a good way for them to be able to kick out the figures and keep the brands going by not having to rebuy the tooling for each chest and arm and leg and boot. You know what I mean? As long as they can keep most of it the same and then tweak it, they'll be able to keep the license going. So don't hate them all the time. When you get a lot there and then you get some type of variant, at least they're not doing what McFarlane's doing right now, which I think they are, I don't know, I think they're shooting themselves in the foot. They're giving you the bare minimum, and then they want you to pay even more by rebuying the figure. Like with this guy, you don't have to buy this guy with this head and then in 3 months buy this guy with this head. You get all the heads now, all 3 heads right now. With McFarlane, they'll send you him with a mask, and then in 3 months, they'll send you him with no mask, and then 3 more months, they'll send you him with no goggles. You know, it's ridiculous. And no accessories, or maybe 1 accessory or 1 different hand. I don't know. I think NECA for the value is crushing it. Here's the recent releases. Homelander. I can't wait to slap some glue in his eyes, to be honest, because I'm really liking this head sculpt now that I see it in the camera. I think this head sculpt is actually working really, really good for his likeness. But you got Homelander, you got Frank, you got Doc, you got McCready. These are all some recent releases, and NECA's just knocking it out of the park. All right. Put your thoughts and opinions down below. What do you think about the recent releases? And what do you think specifically about Homelander and even Starbright, whatever. Starlight. I swear, next time I spot one, I'll pick up Starlight and we'll check her out. But I like this face sculpt better than the other one. I tell you, now that I'm looking at it, yeah, I'm digging that. All right, take a little bit of glue. I spilled a little bit in the, oh wow, this is going to be tricky. Oh, you gotta be shitting me. I spilled a little bit on the container, I didn't even know it. So I got a little on my finger. All right, sorry. So, get a little bit of glue. I'm doing this on camera, which is tricky. Dab it in his eye. Dab it in his eye. And then you saw how it was before, and you kind of get an idea of what it'll be like when it dries. Yeah, see, that is the trick. A easy, super fast, super easy trick to drop your friggin' figure's head and break everything. To just touch it up with this super gloss and all human characters. It really adds a shine. Did I get that off his face? To the eye. Yeah. Ha! Done. Custom figure. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Hope you like the trick.